Oh, hello. Do you think the Big Brother's watching? Or that the Illuminati is planning to take over the world? Have you had an encounter with a space alien today? If the answer to those questions is yes, then grab your hat, because this is tinfoil hat time. Welcome back to Tinfoil Hat Time. Today, we are going to have a look at who actually owns you. All right, well, having some couple of little technical difficulties today, so I'm going to get stuff figured out here, and for whatever reason, my intro decided to run twice. Give me just 1 second. Apparently I have a server that's down. Oh well. So greetings everybody. Hello, CEO Linux. Alright, watching your grandmother's house. I hope that your grandmother's wearing the tinfoil hat too. Daniel, how's it going? And Carbon Programmer, how are you? See, I have a Voodoo account, still get the Blu-ray with it, but I still get the Blu-ray with it. Yeah, I mean, I think I put a bunch of movies into those, into that digital, you know, what back when digital copy was first a thing, and you'd buy a movie, and then, you know, if you bought it within, like, the first year, you could enter in a code and get a digital copy of it. Man, that stuff's kind of a sham. We'll talk about that stuff, though, today. Let's see. Pseudo Linux is with the kitty. All right. Hey, Ryan. How's it going? Current programmer. I have no idea what you said. Forgot my headphones, so don't bust my speakers. All right. I'll try. No guarantees, but I'll try. Hello, Beavis Isaac Daniel. How's it going? Awesome. Yeah, I kind of messed up my intro today. For whatever reason, I had some problem where during the preview, I don't know if you watched during my preview, for some reason I must have hit a button or something with the hat because it stopped my stream, and so I had some challenges with that, and then the intro ran as well. So I think it hit my hotkey to load up my intro screen. And actually, I didn't even hit the start recording. So I'm going to do a start on the recording as soon as the comments go down. I'm going to do another intro there. So anyway, let's see. It's the Synagogue of Satan. Yes. All right. What do you think of Bank of America? I think Bank of America is certainly one of those people that owns us. Not a huge fan of any big bank. I prefer smaller banks. The funny thing is actually all my business accounts run through an out-of-state account, and anytime I approach the in-state, I have two major problems. If I want to get an in-state bank account for my businesses, I have to register the business name, which costs a lot of extra money, but there's no legal requirement that I have to have the bank account in this state. On top of that, all of the business banking accounts I can get in my state are excessively expensive, but I have one in another state that's completely free. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use that one. But it's a small regional bank. There's really only one location of it. And so the cool thing is with Modern World, I do all my banking with a debit card. So, you know, like not with a debit card, but with I can deposit checks at the ATM at any bank without paying anything extra. And that's really what allows me to do that without any issue. And then, of course, I transfer the money over into a personal account that's local, so I don't have any ATM fees with withdrawing cash. What the bell? Just found your live stream of you recording your podcast series from a notification. What? Interesting. Just switched to Linux Mint. Sweet. Awesome. I'm finding it hard to get to the top right buttons to change colors. They don't. You mean like your buttons up in your, like your close buttons? Let me find that real quick. Where's my scene? There we are. If you are talking about these buttons up here, to change those, you need to go into your settings and then go into your themes. And then those are the window border themes right here. No, not window border themes. Which one? Yeah, this one's here. Go into your controls, and you can select the controls out of the colors. Now, if you want to like fully customize, this is CSS code. You can actually do that. It's a more advanced thing. But these here cover most of the colors that you might want. If that's what you're looking for, that should do that. Where am I at right now? Let me just play around with some of them here. The problem is sometimes I goof things around. There you go. There you go. Actually, I think that might be the window borders. I think that is the window borders actually. So you can kind of have these options here. Again, these are, if you do want to change these, it is CSS code, and those are kind of stored in your theme system. I totally messed up my theming on my computer. That's horrible. I don't like this look. Oh, well, I took one for the team. No, don't like that one. Was it this one? Yeah, there you go. That's the one I want. I'm back. All right. So anyway, that's where that is. If that's really what you're looking for there. All right, let's see. Just in Chinatown, LA this morning and saw there's a Bank of America. I went to Chinatown to expand my vocab. Huh. You didn't find a Bank of China there? I mean, come on. Do you think TruePlay will ever see enough use that they will go back to supporting only PC? You know, the thing is that if you don't use it, it's really the developer's choice, because if you opt not to use it, you simply can't play the multiplayer function of the game, to my understanding. But other than that, I'm not the guy to ask about gaming stuff because I really don't do much gaming. Themes work except the buttons, even though I do select different colors. Huh. Yeah, I mean, that might be something you look at in the CSS. What distro do I use? I'm using Linux Mint Cinnamon for my production Linux computers. My media computer rotates. Right now it's on Manjaro, Budgie. And of course, I run a variety of other little things as well. Enjoy lack of privacy invasion on Linux too much. Yep. All right, so I'm going to jump back over here, and I apologize. I'm going to do my initial intro again for the purpose of the fact that I'm going to be recording these to do a better edit. Welcome back to Tinfoil Hat Time. Well, today we are going to be having a look at Who Owns You, talking about your corporate overlords. Because as I started examining life, I kind of became shocked as to how little stuff we actually own anymore. We have been co-opted. It probably started around, I think it really started around 20 years ago. And then it just kind of started to bleed into other places of our life. And then I looked at the various things. Think of the video games, the entertainment, the music, the movies, all that kind of stuff. Even now, our cars. Oh, Kitty wants to come up and say hi. Kitty, do you agree? Yeah, Kitty agrees. Want to see the kitty with a tinfoil hat? There you go. Come on. Nope. Look at the camera. There you go. There's a kitty with a tinfoil hat. He does not like the hat. You don't like the hat, do you? All right. But our video games, our music, our books, our movies, even our cars, our devices, we don't own any of this stuff anymore. If you go back and read the terms of service and terms and conditions of the products that you're using, you don't own much anymore. Back when you could buy CDs, they really didn't have this foresight in. If I bought a CD, and I have a box full of CDs in my closet over here. If I have a box full of CDs, I own the rights to those CDs. I own them. I can purchase those CDs. I can take those CDs. I can put them as digital files legally in the United States. I can play those digital files from anywhere. In fact, I was wanting to, I forgot to grab it, but I have a little MP3 player. Okay, it's just a tiny little MP3 player that has like a, I don't know, umpteen million hour battery, I think. I charge it like 3 times a year, I think. But I have that little MP3 player, and it has an SD card expansion slot. So it has 8 gigabytes of internal storage, and it has an expansion slot. And I think right now there's either a 16 or 32 gigabyte chip in there, all completely full of movies and music, or not movies, of music and sermons that I have, a variety of different things. And I'll listen to those, and it doesn't matter where they came from, that thing will play it. But if you purchase a lot of your music, now some of your music is now, they've realized that people are going to share their music more than they want. And so anymore, a lot of your music, some cases, then you still have the ability to use them, but not all of them. And this is kind of what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to talk more about music specifically in a bit. We're actually going to start with video games. And the reason I'm going to start with the video games is I, unfortunately, am not a gamer. So I'm not all of that up to date with what's going on in the gaming world, in the gaming community. But I'm looking at the possibility of building a Steam OS system, see how it works. I'm thinking about doing it with a Linux-based Steam natively and with a Windows-based Steam running on Play on Linux, just so I can get a chance to experiment with, with Windows games on Linux through a Wine emulator or a Wine application. I'm looking into that because as I look back over the landscape of how I do things, I don't completely avoid all video games, but for me, I don't generally take the time to learn a lot of new things. And so I have an Xbox that I bought the Xbox because of the kids that I mentored about a decade ago. When I had moved out of that city, I was like, I'll get an Xbox so we can actually get on and still play some games together. And we've done that a couple of times, but not a lot. Still, I looked at it and said, well, what are the games we played? Well, I liked Borderlands 1. I don't like Borderlands 2, but Borderlands 1 and Black Ops 1. Black Ops 1. Those are the only games. I think I have Battlefield 4 or 3 or 2, but I've never played it. So I literally have 2 Xbox games. And I'm kind of like, I would like to just get rid of that and just go down to just buy the games on computer and not have to worry about it. But even then, what is stopping me? So I'm starting to look into Steam a little bit. And Steam itself is just one giant DRM thing. If I go out to the store and I drop $20 on a game on Steam, and Steam has a fight with the publisher of that game, Steam can block my access to play the game I just spent my $20 buying. I don't own my game anymore. I own a license that could end at any time because Steam could go defunct. The game company could go defunct. But if I go out and I buy an old game, so like the only other, I think I have 2 PC games that I play as well, and that's Warcraft 3 and Civilization 4. And so I have these games, and if Blizzard completely vanishes, I can still play Warcraft 3. In fact, it runs beautifully on Wine, and so I can play Warcraft 3 on my Linux systems. No problem. I have that ability. And Civilization 4, I think, is much the same way. There's no online requirement for that game. I can install it on a computer, and I can play it. And I actually have a couple other games. I think I have the original Worms computer game, which does not work well on just HD computers. It really is made for an older time. And I have another one called Dark Reign, which, by the way, work beautifully. I can run those games in a Windows 95, a Windows 98 VirtualBox. They have no outside connectivity, and I can play them just fine on Linux or otherwise. So with that, the old style, you bought a game, and if the company dies, I still have access to it. Now, part of this talk here was inspired by talking about, or by listening to Brian Lunduke's Thursday show this week, where he's explained to somebody in response to a question they had made. And somebody asked him the question and said, I'm on a Mac, I want to jump over to Linux. What is the thing that caused you to leave the Mac ecosystem? Because he used Mac prior to coming to Linux. And he's like, I looked down and I saw the Mac store and the software store with the Mac, which of course now we have the app stores and all these other things. Here's the thing. if I'm relying, even on the new Android device I built, if I'm still relying on Google Play Store, I'm limited in the functionality. But all of the apps that I have on that Android device that runs Lineage OS instead of that, I have all of the operating system, all of the apps, everything that I have that I'm running on that phone, every bit of it, I actually have the physical copy in my manual backups. So if that phone dies, I can get another phone just like it, rebuild the entire thing exactly the same way I've done without having to go on the internet. Okay? And so Brian Lunduke was talking about that kind of stuff. And he was talking about the fact that we have this concept of he wanted his pictures to be his. He wanted his games to be his. He wanted his videos to be his. He wanted his music to be his. And he saw, even a long time back, the shifting tide by which that was starting to fade away. And that's what we're talking about here today. So I looked across the whole landscape, and most of what we do in our culture, we don't own anymore, unless we're careful. And so let's look at some of these issues. So I jumped in to look first at the video games. And here's an article from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Now, some of my resources here are older. This isn't like the news where it's all cutting edge from the last week. Some of these are going back a ways because I really want to plumb the depths of how long this has been happening beneath our eyes without us even realizing. And I'll tell you, back in July 2008, this is almost 10 years ago, in fact, July 2008, I was just in the process of moving to another state. I was just finished graduate school. I was starting a professor career. And I mean, I didn't have a smartphone. I had no concept of any of this stuff. No concept of any of this stuff. This is a decade ago. I hadn't taken a blue pill or red pill or whatever it is. I hadn't woken up to the world around me. I was just a little hapless guy running through the system, going into debt, blah, 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 woohoo, let's just do everything the companies want us to do. And that's the way I was. But here, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a decade ago, is talking about this article called "You Bought It, But You Don't Own It." And this is the reality. And this is the thing where we talk about the costs and what does our money do. And opportunity cost is an economic term, meaning that if I spend $1,000 here, I lose the ability to spend $1,000 over there. Well, if I want to buy a movie, I want to buy the movie, for crying out loud. I don't want to buy a license to use the movie if the phases of the moon stay aligned. I want to buy a movie to use it. And that's this case here actually came down to a copyright case with World of Warcraft, which is fairly new because there's this company or this guy, whatever it was, and he had the option where you could pay him and he would play your account for you, or a series of people would play your account for you to get you up to level 70 without you having to do anything. And Blizzard comes out and says, no, this is a violation of our end user license agreement. And in reality, this went to the courts, and the courts agreed with them. Because this is... Well, nothing kills my train of thought like that. Let's just go ahead and take a look at some comments. There's a lot of them here. All right, let's see. Bank known as Cathay Bank. Group probably not, but this is a stream. Yes, me. Okay, good thing I'm learning traditional Chinese. Simplified Chinese is like newspeak. Oh boy, that's exciting. Traditional Chinese stands for individuality, freedom, and wisdom. Well, that's not something you get in this day and age. What's next? A way to bypass true play called false play. Just give some hackers some time with it. They'll figure out how to get around it. I just use regular Ubuntu. Does that make me a kook? No. My rat needs a tinfoil hat to stop the government from sleeping too much. Yep. Simplified Chinese stands for communism. Well, you know, matches their political alignments. Using Pop OS, love it. Has drivers for my NVIDIA graphics card. Cool. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at that. Any form of newspeak removes the beauty from language. Yep. It's your European descent. Okay. Soda toy for Micah, my old cat. Sweet. Chinese looks beautiful, while simplified Chinese looks ugly. Alright. Old video, I installed Arch Linux with my old PC. Or are we going extinct? Well, it depends on where you're at. Like in the United States, I believe we're a negative population rate. Anything underneath 2.1 population growth is considered negative. And I think we are. I think we're like 1.9 last time I knew. Most music is controlled by DRM. Yep. Port groups save us. Make the world more free. Good evening, James Miller. Looks like you changed your icon. Cool. White countries are the fastest, freest nations on Earth. Try to download a YouTube video from YouTube and it could not play. That's... Just play FOSS games. Pretty fun. Open arena shooter. Alright. That's why I buy Blu-ray discs and physical CDs. I can rip them to my own cloud and host them. Can you do that with Blu-ray? I thought Blu-ray had the same encryption that DVD has. DVD, you can rip them, but it violates American law. I don't know about Blu-ray. If Blu-ray can do it, I'm buying a bunch of Blu-ray. Grace's knees. Microsoft, McDonald's, Google. They're taking freedom in the tech world. Yep. Same thing with Steam. If Steam drops off the planet one day, your entire Steam library is gone. Yep. No licenses to be had to claim your copies elsewhere. Yep. Left the Microsoft ecosystem, never coming back. Yep. To fix this glaring problem. What is Lineage? Lineage is a Google operating, it's an Android operating system that has no Google services in it. Like no closed source Google services in it. There's obviously Google services because Android is a Google product, but Android itself is an open source Google product. What makes it kind of evil and spy-y is all of the closed source Google apps they drop into it. So Lineage does not have any of those. So that's what I use. I want to pay developers for games, but I love the bottom line. They need to protect my purchase. That's the thing, you know? Like, I will gladly buy a game, and that's why I haven't gone out and bought a copy of Borderlands or Black Ops, because I can't get a copy of it that will work without some crazy license. So, no, I'm not supporting the companies in that respect. Or at least I haven't. I mean, I haven't gone through and researched if that's possible or not. That's the thing. I don't know. DRM is just an inconvenience to people who legally buy products. Yes, legally. In fact, there was the DRM. I didn't mention it yesterday, but there was a DRM that was deployed and that took hackers all of 1 day to crack it, which is pretty standard. 2 games last year no longer have, and Steam tells me to buy them again. So I purchased them, but why can they not honor your purchases? Yep. If I show them receipts, if I can find them, it should be able to honor them. Yeah, iTunes is a DRM platform. I think Apple has the ability to have non-DRM in some instances. Am I correct on that? Somebody that is familiar with the Apple system and actually buying stuff. Like, despite I've had iPhones for about, I think I've been running iPhones for about 5 or so years. I've never actually used iCloud or any other deeply embedded iOS service. I don't even plug this thing into my Mac, despite having a Mac. I'd rather fight with it on Linux than plug it into a Mac. If I have to do something on iTunes, I actually run iTunes through a Windows install. I do not want the Mac to know this iPhone exists because I don't trust Apple. Same thing with my iPad. You know, I like an iPad. I just don't like what Apple does with them, you know? So even physical copies have DRM. Yep. That's the thing about DVDs, is they have a physical DRM, and so you cannot legally rip a DVD. Though you can get the software for it, you can't. You know, it's illegal. Hulu is, but I can't in any ways fix it. Okay. Hopefully sooner or later someone's able to bite that Apple out of business. All right. Did the stream stop? Okay, yeah, we're back. Okay. Good. I hope everyone's having a good weekend. Hopefully relaxing, chilling. Tecmo Bizzle's new name is Tux Tips. All right. But I can't call him Techno-Bismol then. Maybe you like the beauty of choice using Sparky Linux. All right. What do you think of the report from Linux Insider about Microsoft investing heavier into open source? I really think they have devious plans, but that's my thought. It's dumb when someone web apps completely block browsers that are not Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely bad. In fact, it's the same. I treat that the same way. If a site wants to get all mad about me for running an ad blocker, I just won't visit the site. You know, because what's more important is the number of people you have on there, not are my ads being displayed. Because I got news for you. If you're blocking the 5% of people who are using an ad blocker or whatever it happens to be, I totally made that number off the top of my head. If you're blocking anybody from using your site, you're damaging your website analytics by being all anal about you have ad blocker. Well, shut up. I'd rather deal with those people. That's why on my sites, despite I run ads, if you run an ad blocker on my site, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Because it's such a minimal amount of income anyway. I mean, the ads I've been running on my site have I've been running ads on some of my sites for over a decade. I have accumulated a grand total of $7.50 in the account. Yeah, not really worth it. Now, if I had millions and millions of people visiting, it'd be a different story. But if I had millions and millions of people visiting, I wouldn't worry about the few people running ad blockers. Because most people are just sheeple. They're not running ad blockers anyway. Okay, do you ever tell somebody, don't ever let anyone tell you what to like. Tom likes Ubuntu Mate, and that's Tom's choice. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've had some problems with Ubuntu Mate, but I like it. You know, I use Linux Mint for my production computers because not only do I really like it, and I really like how it's set up, it also works without me fighting with it. I've never had to sit down and fight with Linux Mint. Never. I've had to fight a little bit with Ubuntu. I've had to fight with several other distros, but I've never had to fight with Linux Mint Cinnamon. You can delete a Steam account without emailing Steam specifically. DRM came in late. DRM Steam Gaming. All right. Closed school connotations, meaning words. You can rip Blu-rays, but like you said, that breaks the encryption. If you can use DVD Fab on Linux, I've also used and heard of Make MKP, M3B, and Brisario. I don't know if each of those work. Actually, the best one, if you want to do one such evil thing, is Handbrake is the best Linux system. Which I've actually used because it's also, in addition to that, it's a very good transcoder. So if you have a video you need to convert to a different format or alter the bit rate, Handbrake is absolutely hands down. But it has the ability to do those ripping as well. Can you dual boot Lineage on an Android? I believe you can, but I've never really bothered trying. I kind of like my system to work well, and I don't generally turn on or turn the thing off. Dude, get a job, your video sucks. Well, you can go somewhere else, I don't care. What do I think of Islam taking over the West? I think it's a bad thing. iTunes has mainly DRM music, and the option may have changed since you're not sure this was several years back. I thought recently you can now download things. Why do you have an iPhone? Do you have an Android too? Yes, I have an Android as a business line and iPhone as a personal line. Why do I have an iPhone? It's not dead yet. When it dies, I won't be getting another one. But I've had all four of the major carriers of phones. The BlackBerry Z10, I've had the Androids, I've had the iPhones, and I've had a Windows Phone. Of all of them, the UI, I like Windows Phone the best, but the thing sucked. Not to mention, it's a spy. But of the two main platforms for the longest time, I considered Apple the better of the two platforms. You could lock it down better. It was more respective of privacy settings than Android is with Google services running on them. And I just liked the fact that things worked. But with more recent iOS iterations, it works less and less. It's more locked down. It's harder to lock the privacy out. Like right now, despite I have location services turned off, now this is running iOS 9, so it kind of stays the same way. But starting with iOS 10, even if I have location services turned off, I can turn it on remotely, which means a hacker could turn on my location services remotely. There's a lot of functionality with that. Additionally, I utilize that headphone jack repeatedly, so I don't want to use a phone that doesn't have a headphone jack. So Apple, for me, they're off the table. I'm not interested in using them any longer. Because this phone is also on the way out of dying. Every time I make a call, I have to make the call twice. It always drops the first time. I usually get 3G to 1X internet in various places, so it's on the way out. It's probably not going to last a whole lot longer, but I'm the guy, I drive my cars until the wheels fall off, so that's fine. I'll be using my iPhone until the wheels fall off, and then when it dies, I'll find something to replace it. But in wanting to replace it, I went ahead and hunted around for just the right phone and ended up getting a Google Nexus 5X, because it supports a whole lot of different ROM devices. And so I put Lineage on it without any Google services. I sideload all the apps. I run all the network connections through Tor. And so it's basically a privacy security phone, which I like it. And I really like it. I don't like that it's big. I like the iPhone SE because it's a small phone. I don't like big phones, but I'll deal with a big phone because it's easy to do privacy on it. Let's see. Harmony in China used to mean following Confucian principle. Harmony in China now means being arrested and silenced by communists. All right, purely out of customer demand, users were not using iTunes to do DRM. Yep. Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Speaking of DRM and censorship, Apple bows down to censorship in China. Yep. I like Mint Mate. Sweet. I do not think being censored and jailed means living in harmony. Another iPhone. Why not another Nexus? What do you mean another iPhone, another Nexus? What? Greetings, Chater. How are you doing? Do you think it made sense for Vidali to spoof the user agent to any Google apps? If they're spoofing anything, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on that. I haven't read about it, so I don't know. All right, we're going to jump back over into the articles. I think my train of thought is back on. Okay, so this is fighting the argument with Blizzard and whatnot. Other ones. Here's another nice little article. You don't own your games. So as so many people talk about how Microsoft's recent rescinded policy about online check-ins and trade restrictions. So this is back, if you remember, when right around the time when it was a little bit before Windows 10 came out. What was it? It was when the Xbox One came out. They were talking about having the inability to actually trade in your games, which is a huge market because I like buying used stuff before I like buying new stuff, period. I just like buying used before buying new. Used. My Nexus 5X phone, I bought that for $200 used. I know how to hunt for a deal. Take the time to hunt for a deal. So I want to look for used games. What Microsoft wanted to do is kill the used game market. Basically, a game, despite having the physical CD, all it was is just to download the core files. You still had to go online, grab the rest of everything else, and a game, once you had used it, could not be transferred to anybody else, which meant the used game market was going to die. That caused a major uproar. So, of course, they listened, but they didn't listen, be like, ooh, we want user opinion. Oh, wow, okay, that's a good perspective. Let's not do that. They did it because they would lose the battle to PlayStation if they didn't. Okay? Not to say that PlayStation's perfect. PlayStation also buckled and started having their online service now as a paid service instead of it was free for the longest time, to my knowledge. Again, I don't really play games, so I just get a chance to do the peripheral stuff. So pretty much, basically, this was what Microsoft was going to do. Now, they, of course, reversed that. Of course, we had already talked a little bit about Steam, so hey, why not just chat a little bit more about Steam? So in this case here, this is a guy where some guy had done whatever. He spent $1,500 purchasing 250 games and they banned his account. Yeah, you can't have your games back. It's not like you can download the games and then now you have a copy of the game. And this is that very thing Brian Lunduke was talking about. He's talking about that very issue where, in this instance, the buying something should mean you buy it. Now, if I lose it due to my stupidity, that's a different story. But I mean, I've gone back and I started to think about the things that he'd said. And I recalled, if I go back into my backups, I still have a executable installer for like Winamp version 2. If you're old enough to know what Winamp is, kudos to you. It ended up being converted into some Linux app now. I forget which one it is, but back in that day, I had, and I still have entire folders of freeware and shareware software that I had downloaded that I still like to this day. That, I mean, they don't run on any modern Windows computer or anything, but I can still boot my computer into Windows 98 on a VirtualBox and run it. And that's a cool thing. That's a cool option. That's a cool thing that we can do. And, but with this, you don't get a downloadable installer. You don't get the ability to buy this game and use it somewhere else if your Steam account dies. So if I buy these games on a Steam account, the convenience factor is if I boot into a new computer, load up the Steam account, now I can re-download those games and play them. But it's still tied to that Steam account. I don't ever have the option to play them. If Steam goes defunct, or if they ban my account, or if there's some fight between Steam and the manufacturer of that game and they pull the game out, they can pull the rights to that game, you can lose the ability. You know, Amazon was caught doing the same thing, pulling it out. Actually, I think we're going to talk more about that in a bit. So I'm not going to go into that story. But this is the problem, is that we do not buy our video games anymore. We buy a license to play our video game. Everything is now delivered on a DRM content platform. If and think back, I didn't pull any articles on this, but remember with the home integration systems, you know, Google bought the one, I forget which one it was, and then about a year or so later, they killed the server for it. So all of these $300, $400 smart home hubs just died one day. Paperweight, $400 paperweight. I bought some expensive paperweights in my day. $400 paperweights, not worth it. So we don't own our games anymore. We don't own them. Oh, let's see. Matea's nice. I like XFCE. I've had a lovely experience with Linux Mint. Okay. I like your tinfoil hat. Well, thank you. It's a tinfoil fedora. Tip hat's a fedora. It's like 1984. The whole war is peace phrase. Yep. Just iOS version 9. If it's 9.3.3, jailbreak it. I think I have a version that's not jailbreakable. At least not without paying a Chinese hacker. And I'd rather not pay a Chinese hacker. But you know what's cool about the Nexus? I don't have to root the thing. I can do an ADB root. The only reason I'd want to root the thing is to edit the host file. I can do that without rooting it. Because in the device settings, you have the option to do an Android Debug Bridge root. So I can actually go in as a super user, as long as it's connected to a terminal. I can go in as a super user. I can edit my host file. I don't need to root my phone otherwise, because I can also sideload any app into it. So it's exactly what I want. I mean, it has no apps I don't want on it. It has no Google services. Checking home, it's perfect. But with the iPhone, you know, it's I have to pay a Chinese hacker to jailbreak it, and I don't really want to. 6 likes and counting. Your opinion sucks, and that's my opinion. There are plenty of other channels to watch. Oh, you must be responding to that guy up there. TN06. Yeah, whatever. All right. USA is censored, but getting worse. Yep. What do you think about Librem 5 project? I'm mixed on the Librem 5 project. What I like about the Librem 5 project is the first thing is we're actually getting collaboration between Linux geeks, and that's awesome. You know, Plasma Mobile's working together with UB Ports is working together with Purism. So you have 3 different guys developing a true Linux phone with physical hardware cutoff switches, which is awesome. And it runs true Linux, and to my knowledge, you will be able to run it on it'll be run Debian as a core, I believe GNOME, Plasma Mobile, and Ubuntu Touch, I think. I think there's 3 desktop environments. Don't quote me exactly on that. So that's the good thing. The bad thing is it's still one company, one project, one piece of hardware that's, in my opinion, overpriced. I don't buy stuff that's super expensive. I don't spend that much on phones, so I won't be getting one, especially since, you know, I can accomplish what I want to accomplish on an Android device as long as I can put a custom ROM on there. I don't have to have a phone that runs Linux. I'm more concerned, do I have a phone that respects my privacy, that I can make calls, make text messages, check my email, and go on the internet, and maybe share my Wi-Fi. As long as I have those functionality, I'm happy. I don't necessarily need much more than that. I don't have to have a phone that's purely running Linux. I want a phone that is running, that is conscious to my security and privacy. So I like the project. I hope it leads to inroads with other Linux options that we may have them down the road. But they are fighting an uphill battle. That's my thought. Greetings, Tux Tips. Or should I say Techno-Bismal. Got a fresh new channel. Sweet. Said if your phone dies, you're going to get another phone. Another what? What I would do is probably, as long as it's an Android phone, I could put on a custom ROM without Google Apps. That's what I would do. Sure about the big phones at first, but I don't think I could go back. Yeah, I mean, I can because right now I have big phones and I have little phones. And I've had a Samsung Galaxy 5, what is it? Galaxy 5, 5S, or is it S5? Whatever it is, 5, Galaxy 5. I had one of those before, and between the two, I hate big phones. I want a small phone. So that's kind of it. My phone dies, I'll throw mine at my mom. What? Don't do that. Don't throw stuff at your mom. It's not cool. Be nice to your mom. And Chinese police forcing locals to install spyware on the phone. Yep. Yeah, if you forced me to install spyware on my phone, I'd probably just put a hammer through my phone. So online distribution, you get Blizzard games during a blizzard. This is true. Nintendo's monitoring software with it. Keyloggers and more. Comes standard for all your data insecurity. Yep. That's right. Used Winamp for many years. Cool. Heard Chinese computers come with spyware, collects data for the government. Would not be surprised. Really kicks the llama's butt. Yep, that's it. That's it. Do you trust that Steam would provide a way to let you play current collection of games without Steam DRM if Steam ever goes bust? Nope. Not at all, because their hands are tied to the licensing of the games that they buy. And so it's not theirs at all. All Steam is Netflix. They're just a conglomerate place for people to run your content through. It's just a marketplace. Faves all time. Do you remember the OG Napster and WinMX? I don't remember either of those, actually. When you owned what you bought. Owned was the keyword. Yep, that's the case. Why do you mention Chinese hackers or most of the hackers? Because the jailbreaking apps for the iPhone are Chinese apps. That's why I said Chinese hackers. Yeah, no. Now, if it was like Kaspersky or something, I'd be talking about Russian hackers. But no, it's the apps that you use to jailbreak an iPhone are from Chinese hacking groups. It's not a secret. What are the downsides to rooting your phone? The problem with rooting your phone is you have the ability to your phone to run on an elevated privileges. And that is a huge security risk. That's why I like the option to have rooting through a debug bridge only, so it could only be rooted if it were plugged in, but you also have to have the password access to it. So that's why I use that. You can pay me to hack iPhone because I'm better than anybody. All right, let's see. All right, let's move on to our next topic. We're going to talk about cars. So if you remember this one, Lyft wanted to, I think it was this article here is the better article to start on. So Lyft wanted to have this level 5 automation, and they're just like, they wanted to be very nice to you. Owning a car costs you lots of money. In fact, according to the numbers, it costs an average of $9,000 a year to own a car, and that's just a lot to own a car. So just use our service instead. We'll take that horrible burden of the cars, and then you can just use our cars as your service. I'd rather own my car, thank you. And repair it. We'll get to that one in a bit. I'd rather own my car, though, right? I'd rather own my car rather than have to hail some stranger, or even worse, hail some robotic driving mad because it's hacked through Manhattan car. Okay? But this is the thing, is that Lyft wants to, they want to have a network where they have all these cars. Of course, Uber's working on this, Google's working on this, Apple's working on this. All these big corporations are working on these self-automated fleets. But it's now all the corporations that own all the cars. So while I might pay $9,000 annual for a car, well, that might be true, okay, the challenge is I'm paying a variety of different people, keyword different people. If I need my oil changed, I buy oil from Advanced Auto and do it myself. If I need tires, I go to this nice little tire shop. If there's some other mechanical problem, I can find a mechanic that's trustworthy who's a small business guy. I'm dispersing that $9,000 among a group of other people who may or may not be evil, but at least that's all not going to one place and I'm tied to it. Okay, but if they have their world, I have to pick one of the services or maybe all of the services and to spread my $9,000. Remember we talked about opportunity cost earlier? Well, here's another take on opportunity cost. If I'm giving my $9,000 to Lyft, I lose the ability to give that $9,000 to a series of other small business owners, and now I'm supporting a big corporation. Well, if we all do that, now we have another oligarchy set up. Oh my. So this is the problem. But let's poke a little bit of hole in that 9,000 because let's see where these came from. I think it was this one. So here is your annual cost according to the AAA of owning a car. Payments and depreciation. Okay, now if you're probably listening to me, you probably aren't the average person, and not being the average person, this does look about average. Now the average car payment, in fact, this is an old number. Do you know right now an average car payment is about $500 a month? So let me grab my calculator here. $500 a month times 12, that's $6,000. That's average, people. That is right now the average car payment in America. Now, if you're not in America, you're, different. So $6,000 is car payment. Fuel costs, let's see. I'm trying to think. I think I don't even think I put $100 in gas in my car a month. Let's say I do 80. I think that's low a month. So I'm doing about $1,000 in gas. Okay, so their fuel costs seem pretty high. Now, I work from home and I don't always leave the house, so I don't think doubling that's a big deal. So I think their fuel cost looks pretty accurate. I think that's fine. Interest. I have no idea what. I would think that interests were tied up in the payments, but maybe that's the case. Maybe they're not. Insurance, $887 might sound reasonable. I pay significantly less than that. Maintenance and repairs, $355. That's actually pretty low. Registration taxes, that's pretty low. So regardless, they're saying $9,000. Does anybody see the giant black swan? What if you're intelligent and you don't put a car on payments? Your fuel cost, which you could very easily purchase your gas from, again, small business owners rather than the huge corporate. Your interest dies, your payments dies, your depreciation becomes essentially null and void. Your insurance, you can opt for the cheaper insurance if you want to, but your insurance is kind of there. Maintenance, repairs, and registration. So that kind of drops your cost of owning a car to like maybe a third of what they're saying. So maybe $3,000, $4,000 to own a car. Now, what's the cost of that? So let's see, there's mediums. Is this on the medium? Yeah, I think that's on the medium sedan or somewhere around there. Of course, they have a variety of different things. Now, I don't use these services because don't forget that every single time you call and hail an Uber, a poor kitty just like this gets clubbed. And I don't want to club kitties. I don't want to be responsible for that. So I don't call Ubers. All right. But regardless, what I wanted to mention here is that if you factor in the fact that a smart person is not taking out a car loan, pays cash for their car, and builds up to buy the new one, you get the cost down to 1/3 of it. You will end up paying twice the amount of money to use these ride-hailing services than you would possibly ever use in owning your car, in most cases. Plus, you lose the freedom of hopping in your car at 3 a.m. and going out for the taco through Taco Bell's drive-thru. I don't know. But do I really want to rely on a robotic car from one of the 3 big corporations, all of which store and collect data on me? No, I really don't. But we don't own our cars anymore. This is that last place where we still own a little bit of ownership. We're going to get more into that a little bit later. But Uber has said they're getting into this. Apple wants to get into this. Google wants to get into this. These articles are from Lyft. Lyft is actually sitting here going, yeah, they're launching a fleet of self-driving cars. So all the big companies now own the cars. Oh, you know, when a company sits here and says, we're going to take that burden off of you and just provide you a service instead, you are now a slave. Actually, it's not really slavery as much. It's probably more like serfdom. You have the freedom to leave, but you don't have the opportunity to leave because you're too tied into your income. That's called serfdom. When slavery ended in southern United States, it turned into serfdom. People didn't leave. They weren't whipped as much, but they didn't leave because they didn't have anywhere to go. And that's where the companies are moving. That's where we are owned by our corporate overlords. They've already taken our video games. They've already taken our music. They've already taken our movies. Now they want to take our cars. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about movies and such. Oh yeah, here was Uber's CEO. These guys are talking. I guess we're not leaving cars yet. Mm-hmm. 1 second. All right. So here, it's like, what if there was a mobility service that's cheaper than owning a car, more reliable? Do you see how they're operating their narrative on a false premise? We've already poked a hole through that false premise. We popped it. It's floating somewhere else. But he's like, this is cheaper. No, it's not. It's more expensive. And now you want to get rid of the middleman who's trying to make a buck and get rid of all your contractors? So 100% of your profits goes to your corporate overlord. Yeah, there you go. That's good stuff. You might own a car, or like maybe some people own a horse. As long as I got a 6-shooter on my side, I'll be good. May take a ride on the weekend or something. Y'all wanna be in on this? So that's scary. This is scary stuff, right? All right, let's jump over to music. Remember this one? This is when Microsoft did the creators update last year, I think it was. No, it was earlier. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, this is just July. Okay. This is a more recent article than I was thinking. But when Microsoft updated the last creators update, they actually pulled DRM off of Windows 10. So you couldn't play, if you had downloaded music through Napster, you couldn't actually play the music you downloaded. I think you could still do it if you were on the internet, but you couldn't do it offline. All of the codecs to play that, everything was locked down to Windows, and then they pulled the DRM out. So you had to be on an internet connection to play any of these things. Of course, Napster's page, I didn't pull up Napster's page, but it's really funny when this was first identified. Their solution, don't update Windows. As if you have a choice, because it updates whether you want it to or not. We're updating now. Close all your work, because we're already starting. Oh, no, don't do this. I'm on a sensitive project. Nah, it's too late. Too late. Too late. It's updating. It's updating. It's updating all the way. We're updating. Whether we want it or not, we're updating. This was a neat one here from The Guardian. This was a neat article because it really went into all of the different media types. We're going to jump over and do some comments first, though, because I'm kind of behind on my comments. Cully for life. Let's see. There are no downsides instead of the warranty carrying support group. Okay, we actually own less and less of what we buy as time goes on. Yep. America does not use a national intranet. His profile picture is made. It will look similar to the old one. On a phone with a short skirt and a long jacket. My phone is made in 2013. Looks at it better than an iPhone 10. Yep. Oh, come on. Google really needs to fix this chat thing. Okay, Nova Launcher isn't in F-Droid, though. Love the big phones. Have a Note right now. Wouldn't want to go back to a smaller screen. It's a very customizable launcher. Okay. Why do you prefer Linux Mint and not Ubuntu, for example? I prefer Linux Mint because it just works. I've never had any issues with it. Versus Ubuntu, I have had a few issues here and there. One of the things on my Ubuntu Mate, on the same exact computer, same exact hardware, if I plug in my my Ubuntu Mate card, I can't live stream. OBS crashes. Like, all the cameras crash. It can't handle all of the goings, ins and outs of, like, right now I have 2 HD cameras. I have the mic going. Of course, we're doing all the internet stuff. Same exact computer. If I pop out my Linux Mint and I pop in my Ubuntu Mate, I can't live stream. OBS just doesn't work. It keeps crashing the cameras. So that's why I use Linux Mint. By the way, Samuel, did you get your GIMP issue working? Okay, like small phones, it's a phone, not a tablet. Yep. It's your favorite thing about small phones. My favorite thing about small phones is they fit very nicely in your hand, very nicely in your pocket comfortably. And I don't generally use the phone to do a whole ton of stuff looking at it. I just don't. But that's a matter of opinion completely. Only non-F-Droid software uses Proton and Nova Launcher. Okay. What is Nova Launcher? I keep hearing about this Nova Launcher. I have no idea what it is. If you do not want spyware on the phone, buy a dumb phone. Yep, that's a good plan as well. But my phone does a very good job of not spying on me, and it's a smartphone. So, forums are not owned. Pro boards harass people and using an ad blocker. No longer pirates. I haven't in several years. That's good. Pirating is bad. New repairs, Apple's lobbying against right to repair. My last tab is about right to repair, actually, so we'll talk about right to repair later. How'd you feel about self-driving car that's running on free software? I don't want a self-driving car. I think even free software is hackable. Steve Jobs liked the idea of being able to remotely delete apps from phones. Yep. Privacy stops from doing things. Packrom, that F-Droid. Is there a news site called High and Low? I have no idea. Won't allow kitties to be clubbed. Yep. Don't call an Uber. Kitty's not enthused about this kitty being clubbed stuff. All right. Do not know if Microsoft will integrate similar system. The operating Windows 10s can only run Windows Store apps. That's the problem with Windows 10s, which is starting to make its way around the world now. It's getting to the point where when you buy a computer from the store, it will most likely have Windows 10s on it. And the problem with it is that it's locked down, just like an Android or iPhone. You can't get around it. You have to pay the extra money to unlock it, which I believe they've extended until March of 18. Using Android phone that can't be rooted. I hope to switch over Lineage OS and use an option like F-Droid. Yep. Get vicious. Never even speak such evil, twisted nonsense. Kill the demon under the desk. Cast him into the lake of fire. Okay. What are these corporations going to take away next? Individuality? They already have. That's being inbred into kids from a young age. Ever notice you go into school, especially young guys, you go into school, they say, be yourself, as long as you're like everybody else. $25 to unlock the phone with Sunshine for the Droid. All right. Companies are trying to find ways to obtain more money from their customers. Yep. Android has a page dedicated to Android enthusiasts who want to do these things. Let's see. Have you looked at Replicant OS? Completely open source Android. I've not. I wish FreshBooks never changed the new UI. I won't use any of those cloud-based systems. I'd rather struggle through GNU Cache than mess with an online accounting stuff. Don't understand why every one of these companies feels they have to make continuous changes to the UI. Yeah, it's driving me crazy too. Do you think Microsoft will ever push a future Windows 10 update that tries to block you from disabling Windows Update service? Probably. I mean, they've already blocked your ability to block telemetry. You can't block telemetry in any classic way on a Windows 10 computer. Nova Launcher is an alternate launcher for Android. Oh, okay. A Nano will now ride my arm around the house. Nice. Do you trust the OEMs will keep preloading Windows 10 Home Pro on most computers, or will they go for Windows 10s? I think they're going to go with Windows 10s because Windows 10s, Microsoft has said they will not charge to do Windows 10s, but they will charge for Windows. Actually, I don't even think Windows 10 Home is going to be something anymore. I think you'll have the option of Windows 10s and Windows 10 Pro. I could be wrong on that, but I think that Windows 10 Home is leaving. Lake of Fire thing was a joke. That's all right. I'm all about Lakes of Fire, you know. Tom, do you use a podcast program for your Android phone? No, I need to look into it though. But it's on my plan to do that. What computers come preloaded with Windows isn't anything new. Now I'm a user and won't be able to change the OS. This is unacceptable. Yeah, there's a lot of new stuff coming out where you won't be able to make changes to the OS as easily, at least until things get caught up. So yeah, we have to start watching the computers we buy now to make sure they're compatible. All right, back to this article from The Guardian. So, with The Guardian here, I like this article because they really went into a lot of different things. So, music and films. In many instances, we've already said if you buy a DVD, you cannot rip the DVD. Even though the technology exists, you cannot legally rip the DVD because it violates Section 1204 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which specifically states you cannot get around DRM, and the DVD is blocked with DRM. And so that's kind of the problem that you have. So the only option then is to find a way to purchase a copy of something that's not DRM locked for a digital file, which is kind of a pain because I really don't know of a good place to do that. And I would gladly do that, movies or documentaries or otherwise, as long as I have the ability to have that device, put it on my own personal server, and watch it from any device that I own without your proprietary app. That's the thing that I want. Very difficult to find. But music, most instances where we get our music these days, it's locked into DRM. Even Amazon, there was this transitional time like 10, 15 years ago where you'd buy music, you'd download it, and it wasn't DRM locked. Now, to do that, you have to be doing your music through your Amazon app. They want you tied to their app because they can monitor everything you do. They know what you're listening to, how frequently you're listening to it, when you're listening to it. And some of these devices can even detect other people in the room. They can lock your location data into it. They know where you are. They are collecting way too much data about you, and that is the problem. Books, of course. With books, they can just... The book that's on your device, they can just remotely zap it off if they have a fight with the publisher. Now, I haven't double-checked mine. I have no idea why, but my book, Testing and Temptations, is no longer available as an ebook on Amazon. I have no idea why, but it's not. So that's kind of curious to me. But we'll see what happens. But again, I want the ability. In fact, in my office here, using Project Gutenberg and other places to get open source and DRM free books, I have built up a very nice book media server where I can drop the books onto my server, and then any device in my house can grab those on any e-reader on that device, be it a computer or a tablet, a phone or whatever. So I have this Calibri server that I can take any free DRM free book, drop it on there, and then serve it to anybody on my network, which is a cool thing to do. The problem is you can't do that with your standard Kindle book because your Kindle book is locked by DRM. Social media, of course, we're not going to go into that, but yeah, social media. iCloud, Apple's very clear about your ownership of iCloud accounts. It states in the terms and conditions, you agree that your account is non-transferable and that any rights to your Apple ID or content within your account terminate upon your death. Upon receipt of your death certificate, your account may be terminated and all contents within your account deleted. Well, that's exciting because there are actually laws that state digital content can pass with the estate, but companies don't really care. And so we have that kind of issue there as well. Of course, here's from the fun DVD makers. You really don't own the DVDs you bought, thanks to copyright. Well, the thing is, you own the DVD. As long as you have a DVD player, you can play them, but it would be illegal to rip them. And that's a challenge. It's a problem, And so, in this instance, this is the type of stuff we need to kill because I need to have ownership over the things that I buy. I don't want to throw out my money for some nebulous end-user license agreement that I'm forced into binding arbitration, that I have no rights, that I have no ability and no control, and depend on the phases of the moon aligning right. I want to own the content. If I want to go out and buy a book, I want to own the book. If I want to go out and I want to buy a movie, I want to own the movie. And if the company goes defunct, I want to still watch my movie. I don't want my movie dependent on your company staying alive and existing. Of course, what happens when Amazon dies? What happens to all your content? It's gone. We've already demonstrated this. It's gone. And of course, we all learned that Amazon can take away your digital books and movies whenever they want. Whether they think you're violating your terms and conditions or whatever else, this is a problem. That even though you purchased the movie, you purchased the book, you purchased the thing, you didn't actually purchase it. You purchased a right to watch it. It's the whole thing with these streaming services. I didn't pull up any articles on it, but we can all, we all know what I'm talking about when you get into these streaming services. Netflix and Hulu and all of these services. Of course, Disney's now doing their all-in-one service that you can use to tie all your other services in. You have your Google services, your Amazon, your iTunes services. All of these different services, you do not own anything on that. All you are paying for perpetually from now until the day that you die is the ability to watch stuff on it. Now, that may or may not be a good deal for you. It completely depends on who you are. And I watch, if I'm going to watch anything here in my office, I watch things on view.yahoo.com. It is Hulu's free end, so I'm not paying anything for it. And yeah, it's a bummer when a show I like to watch suddenly is not on it anymore, but you know what? It's better than me paying to watch that show and it's not on there anymore. But they have the full right to do that kind of stuff. Oh, boy. Okay, use Mega gave 50 gigabytes of space. No, I am not using any cloud services. I use a NAS drive in my office with a USB backup which can go into a friend's house or a safety deposit box. Probably stick to a custom-built PC to avoid Windows. Yep. On an FD. Do you think it would be BS if Microsoft tries to upgrade Windows 10 Home to Windows 10s? It would be, but I don't think they're going to. I don't know though. That would be a weird thing. I have no idea. Ebook DRM is digital book burning. I agree. Getting tired. Bye. See you later, City Linux. Music DRM is album burning. Yes, Tommy, you can't do that either with EUFI. It codes the hard drive to the motherboard. You can change it though. Given the goal, Microsoft would have shown up to now. I'd expect that to happen. Yep. Remember hearing about when, during Satanic Panic era, parents having metal albums and other music burned. Yep. I remember that. That be the day anyone dumps Windows, Pirates Pro, or just switches to Linux. You don't swap the SATA cables, just the hard drive or the SSD. Okay. Remember, books like Harry Potter were banned because the establishment thought they would cause kids to practice witchcraft. No, just in Christian institutions they said that. I remember I used to teach a Chinese youth group, and I was, they'd asked my opinion of Harry Potter. This is when Harry Potter was still out. I think that by this time the second or third movie had just come out or something. And so the kids wanted my opinion on it. I said, from a Hollywood perspective, it's one of the cleanest movies out there. There's some issues with rebellion and things like that, but I said it's a clean movie otherwise. And I said, I've put an extensive study into witchcraft and things like that, and it's not witchcraft. I mean, it's silly. It raises people's awareness of witches and may cause some kids to start studying it, but it really isn't real witchcraft. It's all Harry Potter is, if you really want the footnotes. Harry Potter is an English education institution satire. That's all it is. And so that's what I said to these kids. And then of course, then told their parents that I said, oh, Harry Potter's great. And so they're like, what are you talking about? Harry Potter's great. I'm like, no, I said from a Hollywood cleanliness point of time, it's better than many of the other movies. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. So much for biblical soundness in a Christian environment, Oh, well. But anyway, so Windows 10 is the second Windows I absolutely refuse to put on my machine under any circumstances. Yep. Care about copyright BS because I paid for my movies. Still continue to rip my Blu-rays to my media server. Yeah, just don't say that out loud in public. Books could be banned by the establishment with DRM for political gain. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, there's a video I watched. I don't know if it was one of the top 10 shows, but it was the top 10 banned books. Go watch that. It's a fascinating video. It's pretty neat. I have to ban 1984 because it'll cause kids to question the government. Kids are already questioning the government. Too late. These cloud services like leaving your door open when you leave your house. Yep. Or locking your house. Locking up your house but leaving your garage door wide open. All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about here before we drive this train home is we're going to talk here about right to repair. Now, the right to repair is not just about repairing your iPhone. So, of course, with all these new iPhones, including my exciting SE with the fingerprint reader there, which I have taped off because I'm not giving Apple my fingerprint. If this button goes bad, and they go bad frequently, and I replace it, the actual button is hard-coded to the board. So while it would not work as a fingerprint reader, it would still work as a home button until you run an update on your phone. When you run an update on the phone, it says, hey, this phone's been tampered with, and it bricks. And they will not get your data off of it. So you've locked your data onto this phone. So a group of people are talking about this right to repair legislation. Why was it in Nebraska? Because one of the biggest places the right to repair is waging is because of farm tractors. Because John Deere is saying, no, when you buy this tractor, you are buying the software in the tractor, and because the software in the tractor, we've encrypted it, repairing your tractor. Fixing the exhaust manifold on your tractor constitutes a violation of Section 1204 of the DMCA. So if we want to talk about anything, let's just repeal that stupid part of the bill. If I legally buy a DVD, I should be able to legally rip it. As long as I'm not dispersing it to other people, that should be just fine. Okay? And this is the same thing. If I buy this iPhone, I should have the ability to take this iPhone to a competent repair person to repair it. Not necessarily be forced to take it to Apple. But John Deere's in on this. GM is in on this because they don't want you to fix their car without going to their certified people. So we do not even own our cars. We do not own our tractors. We do not own our phones. Even right now, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Microsoft goes this route, although I'm not sure they will. Just because they just don't do enough of their board repair stuff themselves. But at the same token, the problem we have here is that Nothing that we have in our modern world and all this internet connected age, everything we have is locked to the DRM of the device. It is locked to a licensing agreement, usually with binding arbitration against a company. And these companies are becoming anti-consumer. So the final point of the matter is we are owned by our corporate overlords. So thanks for watching. If you would like to help support this channel, you can check out switchtolinux.com/support to learn how you can get this message on. Thank you for watching. All right, let's do the final comment wrap, and then I gotta run. All right, using clowns. Okay, not all witchcraft is evil. I once dated a chick who was a Wiccan, and she educated me on it. All right, won his right to repair in New York. Oh, did he really? I didn't think he won his right to repair in New York. I think he repairs without care. iPhones are a hassle for Linux users. Okay, got an iPad, but it doesn't play nice with anything I've ever bought or downloaded. Yeah, I mean, you got to fight with them, but they actually do work. Not a real huge deal. That's the end of the comments. Huh, I thought there'd be more comments. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to keep this video up. We'll see if this guy stays monetized or not. I'm still getting hit by the demonetization bug. And what's funny is even the edited videos. Like I said, I'm editing the videos so that they don't, they have a smaller chance, of them having a hissy fit. And yeah, they're still demonetizing my videos. So I don't know. I might actually keep the original long version and then the short edited versions live and see if there's any correlation, because the video I did last night, 418 views, it's demonetized. Kind of a pain, but that's it. All right, folks. Well, have yourself a wonderful. Am I going to join with Rocco today? I have no idea when he's on today. I'm going to be tied up for at least the next hour or so, and probably after that, I'm not sure I'll have the time. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I will. So, if he's over there, tell him Switch to Linux says hello, but I'm tied up most of the time. So, thanks for watching, folks. Have yourselves a wonderful evening, and I'll catch you later.